Good morning. My name is Jayson Coil, Operations Section Chief for Southwest Area Team 1. Today is July 26th, and this is your operational update on the Laguna fire. Last night's infrared flight mapped the fire at 17,323 acres. The containment has increased to 75%, so really good day yesterday, and the activity and the efforts over the several days before it have begun to bear fruit with regards to that containment number. There are 202 people assigned to the incident. There is a burned area emergency recovery team, also called BEAR, that is arriving at the fire today. And what they'll be doing is they'll be evaluating the post-fire, potential for post-fire impacts and the severity of the burn in different areas, and determine if there's any emergency stabilization or other actions that need to be taken to prevent any untoward effects downstream. And all of the evacuations have been reduced to ready. So the areas, Laguna Ranch, the monastery, any place else that was in an evacuation level above ready has been reduced to ready. This will be the last operational update for Southwest Area Team 1 and for the Laguna Hills fire unless activity increases. It will still be the last briefing for us, but if activity increases, I'm sure that they'll provide more public briefings in the future. Before I go to the map, I want to talk about our plan and then what we're going to do if the plan isn't effective. So we are going to be sticking with our primary plan. The weather yesterday is certainly not normal for this time of year. This is more late June weather. But we're still confident that we're going to be able to execute on our course of action as intended. That plan leverages the fuels transitions and the natural fuel breaks. We think that is the best opportunity to keep this fire at the smallest size possible. The critical fire weather today, though, has certainly given us a reason to focus on not only our primary plan, but what we would do if conditions don't align with our ability to execute that primary plan. So today, the relative humidity is supposed to be down in the single digits, high winds, and extremely dry fuels in the background. If you look to the west at the fires in Utah and on the Kaibab Plateau, they saw really big fire days yesterday. And as that weather moves towards us to the east, we're paying attention to that, and we're ready to respond to it. We still think our primary plan has a high probability of success. The pass line performance, the crew placement, their capabilities, and the actions they've taken are the main reasons why we feel that. And also, we made sure that those crews are positioned again today to be ready and that they're ready to adapt. When I say ready to adapt, basically what I mean by that is that we have contingency lines in place. Those lines are prepped. We have triggers established that if fire does a certain thing, we know what our response will be, and that's been well communicated. And we also have air and ground resources ready to respond. So the bottom line is that we're committed to our primary plan, but we're not married to it. If the fire weather intel demands a shift, then we will respond accordingly. So before I go to the map, I'll give you a thank you so I don't have to come back to my little book here at the end. But I wanted to thank each one of you for your continued engagement. It's been enlightening. I appreciate the opportunity to clarify and correct misunderstandings. And I hope the monsoons show up strong and they aren't far off. So with that, we'll go to the map. All right, so first we'll zoom in up here on Division Alpha in the northwest side. And these little blobs overlaying the red or the infrared. Everything is still within these natural barriers all the way out to the Galena River corridor. And everything in here is holding as expected. The sparse fuels are consuming, and everything is looking good in Alpha. Move down to the northeast, over here by Galena Ranch now. Southeast, beg your pardon. So above Galena Ranch, yesterday they removed all of the extra equipment that was staged there, left 2 pumps, the hose lay system, everything to protect all of the values at risk in place. And then we monitored this fire up here on the top of the hill, but it really hasn't moved out of its footprint. What's happened is that it's moved laterally across the slope, and occasionally it will get alignment, so it will have fuels up above it that have already been underburned, so they're kind of cured out. And then there was some individual group tree torching interior. It was no threat to the line, and the fire is still staying, as I just stated, within its footprint. So while more activity was shown, certainly more smoke was being put up, and they did actually see some trees torching. Because of the slope, the fire was running to the interior, and it presented no threat to the line. Let's go on to, now we're going to go down here to the La Presa drainage and Division Mike. The wet line, the area where we used the heavy helicopters to prep the fuels, and then we burned off of that at the initial stage of this operation, that continues to hold. Down here where I talked about yesterday where those stump holes were in those heavy fuels, continue to watch that. This is certainly an area of concern, because if we were to get rollout, it would just take one log rolling down here to this side, and if we couldn't suppress it quickly, then there's a potential for it to run uphill, just like I talked about over there above the Galena Ranch. But in here, it's got fresh fuels and a bunch of dead trees from the tussock moth that had killed them. I'm not sure exactly when that happened, within the last several years. And so if we were to get rollout and got established and ran up here, that would be one of those things that would trigger us to adopt a different strategy. But for right now, that wet line is holding. We're going to be paying particular attention to that throughout the day, making sure that we use those aircraft as needed to prevent that fire from moving any further. And at the same time, we want to allow those fuels that are next to the line but are still in the black to consume. The best thing we do is have those big logs burn down to white ash and go out. The longer we delay that, the longer we have to keep those aircraft available for those missions. So if you look down here above the ramp and to the north of what we just called Mike Meadow, because there's a meadow down here and it's Division Mike, the fire is starting to move down these slopes. This is so steep right here that, when the aircraft is looking down, it doesn't take much of a shift left or right for it to look like it's made significant movement. Observations from the ground yesterday didn't align with this much movement. They're going out there again this morning. They're going to fly the UAS on this and make sure that they have an accurate perimeter, and then they'll take actions as appropriate if the fire has moved out of this very sparse fuel, and or it has the potential to moving out into some of the more continuous fuels as it gets out into this flatter terrain. So a lot of attention is going to be paid in Division Mike to this area. As a matter of fact, that is the primary effort today, and ensuring that this stays in place is our highest priority. If there's an area that also has the highest likelihood that we would implement one of our contingencies, it would be in this area. So that's how big of a deal Mike is today. That concludes my operational update, and I'd like to thank you all and wish you well. Take care.